Hey, welcome CSC 200 database class to EX7 Part B, the long-awaited Part B. Hopefully you didn't forget too much since the last time you worked on EX7A when you used a form to just kind of practice for this, and you also created your SpongeBob database in EX6. In this one, we're going to put things together a little bit by using our form, which we don't have much to do, and we're actually going to use our form to add elements to our database instead of doing it in phpMyAdmin. Now, just to go back a little bit, I'm going to open up MAMP. I have MAMP open here, and I have my servers running, and I'm going to open up my start page, and that's the one that has the link to phpMyAdmin. So I'm going to click on that to open that up, and you should have your SpongeBob DB in there, and hopefully you have it named the way we named it originally, SpongeBob DB with a capital DB, and you could click on it and check it out. You can look at the table characters because we only had one table in there, and that's where we're building up these characters, and we had ID numbers on these, and mine started at 102 because I think I had deleted one. And if we have any issue with the numbers, if you add some and you want to take them away, we can have the number restart after the last one, and I'll show you how to do that. And if we need to delete anything, I'll show you how to do that too, and we'll do that through here, not through our form. But we're going to kind of work with this, and we're going to add more characters, and I know there's not that many more characters, so we can just make up characters as we go. But we're going to have this database running, and what we're going to do is we're going to be adding records to this database, to this SpongeBob database, to this table, which is characters with a capital C. And just be aware that we do have these columns, ID, where we have auto-incrementing, so we're actually not going to have to specify that. That'll do it automatically. We have last name. We have first name, we have species, and city we won't have to do that either because we put in a default value of Bikini Bottom since we assume they're all from there. And then gender, we will put in a gender of M or F, and we also have a JavaScript already set up to kind of force us to do that, so it won't let us put in blank values or anything else other than M or F. So that's what we're going to be working with, and we're going to be working with a new file, display B, and we're going to be doing that in our code editor. I'm going to use Atom. You could use brackets, you can use Atom, but remember it has to be copied to your htdocs in order to interpret the PHP. So what I'm going to do is go to eLearning, and I'm going to go to our Documents and Resources. I'll put it up on coursework too, but in Documents and Resources, I'm going to go down where I have Downloads because we only have one file, and I'll just have you put it in your EX7 folder so you don't have to copy a whole new folder. And this thing is going to be called Display B because remember we had Display A, and it was called Display because that's where it actually displayed the records from our database. So we're going to download this, and now first of all, you might look at it and say, well, why are we downloading an HTML file? Shouldn't it be PHP? Absolutely, it will have to be a PHP, but eLearning does not allow us to upload a PHP file, so rather than zipping it and unzipping it and doing all that, we're just going to trick eLearning into thinking it's an HTML file, and then when we bring it into Atom or brackets, we're just going to change the extension. So we could do that. So because it's really just a text file, that's all it is, but we're going to upload it as HTML, you're going to download it as HTML, but then you're going to change the name. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to right click and I'm going to download this, and I'll do Save Link As. Don't just click on it because it might open up in another window or something as an actual file. So make sure you download it. You right click and download it and do Save Link As. And I'm going to put it in my htdocs, and I'm going to put it in my EX7 folder that should already be there from your last exercise. And we'll just call it displayb.html. And I'm going to put it in there. Now, I guess you could do this. Even as you can do it later, or you could put PHP right now. You could do that and just save it. That would work. And you can use PHP, and that would be fine. And that way when I go in there, I'll go into my Atom right now. Now, remember in Atom that you can do File Open Project Folder. Now, I already have it open here, so I already have my htdocs open as a project folder, but you can add Project Folder and use your htdocs. That way you can see older folders. So if you need to go back to your EX5 or your EX7 or anything like that, you can use those. So we're looking at all our htdocs folders in here, and here's EX7. You can see now I downloaded it as PHP. If you did not, you could right-click on it, and they should have an option for renaming it, and you could just change HTML to PHP there. So however you do that, whether you change the extension when you download it, or if you do it right here in Atom. Now just keep in mind on Windows, make sure you go to folder, I think it's folder options, and make sure you turn off the hiding extensions, because even if you're working on Windows, you should take off, you're going to want to see your extensions. When we work with any kind of web files, SQL, HTML, CSS, any of those. You want to see your extensions at all times. So turn that off. We don't need to hide extensions. So you could change it here if you need to, but I don't need to. So I'll just kind of go back here. So I just want to make sure it's a PHP, and that's what I'm going to be working with. So we're going to have, if you see DS Store in here, I think I'm only seeing that in Atom. That's okay. You could keep it there, or you could get rid of it. I can right click and I can delete it. I don't need that, so it's not a big deal if I delete it. What we really need is our index file, and that will be in HTML, and that's the one with our form. And then we'll have display A and display B. Now display A we're not going to use. That was our practice one, but you might want some stuff from here. You might, we could copy and paste. We might need these variables we could take from here. So we could use this. This is the one we were just kind of practicing, just displaying kind of one name at a time on there. So display B is the one we're going to use. So what you could do first, if you go to index, we don't really have to do much at all with index. If your index worked fine on your EX7A exercise, you don't have to do anything here. The only thing you have to do with your index is just change this to be display B, so that it uses that as the action. So it doesn't go to display A, it goes to display B. So I'm going to put display B in there, and I'll just save that. And in Atom, if you see a little blue circle, that means it's not saved. So that's all I need to do. I don't think I need to do anything. Everything else should be done if everything worked okay with that. But we may need to see this because we are going to use some of these names. And we are going to have to use it to actually generate our form. But I don't have to do anything else right now. So I can close that, and I'm going to go to displayb.php. And what's actually going to happen here, if you remember from our last one, is we're actually going to put elements in our form. And I should probably I'm going to go back to MAMP. Well, I'll go to my start page. I'll go to my browser because I have it open here, and I'll go to MAMP. Now remember, here I have phpMyAdmin open. Now if I go to my website, now this is on the Mac, they have my website. If you don't have that, you could go to somewhere else here, or you could just open up another page. I guess you could open another start page. But what we can, on the Mac I can do this, but what you could do on Windows is just open another tab and just make it be localhost. Just delete everything on there to be localhost. And you're going to see all the folders that are in there. If they're not index files, you're going to see folders there. So I have EX7. I have EX7 finished because I have one that I had worked on previously. And if I need a hint or I forget something or something's not working, I do have a backup that I can go and kind of look at in case I get stuck. But hopefully we won't have to do that. But we may want to as a reference. And this is EX7, what I have right now. And this is set up so that we're actually going to input things in a form, and it's going to force us to. So what's going to happen first is, I'll just put in, I forget who I missed on my database, but let's say I'm just going to put in Harry. I'll just make one up right now. I'll put Harry Halibut. And I'll put species. I'll make him a halibut. I think that's a fish. And gender, since he's Harry, I'll put him in as a male. And I'm going to hit insert new character. And what it did is it did go to displayb.php. So it actually went there, but it didn't do any of the connections or anything like that. So first of all, I'll make sure that it did transfer as a PHP file, okay? And some of this we don't have set up yet. We don't have any PHP in here yet, but that's what's going to happen. It's actually going to go to the display B page, and what it's actually going to do once we're finished is display kind of our database. Now, just I guess to give you a little finished version here. Let me see if I could open up my finished version. I'm just going to type it in here, and I'm getting an error on my database because there's some parts that it needs from the previous one, but it is going to look like this. It'll say connected to localhost, it'll say connected to SpongeBob, but I have a problem with the query. And if I just go, I'm just going to go in here and just do this real quick. Obviously you're not going to do this, but if I go in here, I'm just going to comment out some of my query in here that I'm not going to be using because I'm not inserting anything right now. So I'm just going to kind of put these slashes in front of this stuff here, and I just want to leave in the one that just displays what's there. So I'm going to save that, and then I'll take them out. See, that's why it's good to have the old one there. And then if I go back and I refresh this, this shows me the database. This is the same database that I'm seeing in MAMP. Last one is Poppy Puff that I had put in there. So that's what it's seeing there, Poppy Puff, and it's showing up at a table. We didn't put any fancy colors. We didn't even put a heading on here, although we can because we knew how to do that last time. So if we wanted to put, first name, last name, species, city, gender and stuff, ID. We don't have to display the ID if we don't want to, but we do have it there. Remember we can also show how many records are in the table if we want to. So we can work with this a little bit, but we'll get it working first. So this is what it'll kind of look like. And the idea is when we initially insert something into that form, we'll be able to add things from here instead of having to go into MAMP or into PHPMyAdmin to do that. So that's what we're going to do. On our index, we now use the form action to display B. So now it should jump to that page, and I already tried it out, and it did. And now what we have, I have some stuff I left in for you. I left in the table CSS style in here. The width is 70%. There's a margin around it. I put comments in here to help you out. I left in the variable names, and I left in the kind of these method names that we're going to be able to use. These are ones that are PHP, SQLi kind of methods in here. So some of these we're going to use. So I use them so you could look them up in W3 Schools, because you're not going to remember it's been a while. You're not going to remember all this stuff, and it's a nice resource to go and see. So we're going to use that to go and find out some of this stuff. This one down here, I even left this in here kind of started. We'll put in the rest of the rows, but this is a hard one to kind of memorize and even to get your head around of what's happening. Even if you're familiar with arrays, the way it kind of does this won't really seem that logical to you. All that you just have to know that while means it's a loop, and then it's doing this as long as there's records to display, and then that's why it does multiple rows. So we'll finish this up at the end, but this one would be kind of harder to figure out, and we could spend more time with that later. But I want you to get all the basics in here, so things are just working to start. So that's what we're going to do first, and I have tried to use these comments to get you set up. And so I think what I'll do, I'll take a break here, and because that's kind of a little bit of the overview, and then I'll get started with this, because I don't want you to watch videos that are really too long. So this might be a good place to stop. So this is just a little bit of the overview, and with part 2 of this video for EX7B, we'll just kind of start working through the code here, and it shouldn't take us too long to get it to work.